Hope you're having a good day today. It is March 5th. We are in the book of Numbers today, over in Numbers chapters 19 through 21, and it is an interesting group of chapters. We have the laws for purification, as you can see, but then when we get into chapter 20, we have the death of Miriam, Moses' sister. Then we have here, as it speaks about it, it's the account of Moses striking the rock, not hallowing God in the eyes of Israel. And we have the reason that Moses is kept out of the promised land. There in verse 12, as it's spoken about, Edom refusing to let Israel through, the death of Aaron as well. But we're going to be looking in chapter 21 today. We're going to look at the account of the bronze serpent. Let's read some. Verse 4. Then they journeyed from Mount Hor by the way of the Red Sea to go around the land of Edom, and the soul of the people became very discouraged on the way. And the people spoke against God and against Moses. Why have you brought us up out of Egypt to die in the wilderness, for there is no food and no water? And our soul loathes this worthless bread. So the Lord sent fiery serpents among the people. And they bit the people, and many of the people of Israel died. Therefore the people came to Moses and said, We have sinned, for we have spoken against the Lord and against you. Pray to the Lord that he take away the serpents from us. And so Moses prayed for the people. Then the Lord said to Moses, Make a fiery serpent, set it on a pole, and it shall be that every one who is bitten, when he looks at it, shall live. So Moses made a bronze serpent, put it on a pole. So it was, if a serpent had bitten anyone, when he looked at the bronze serpent, he lived. This account is going to be referenced different times through the New Testament. I believe Jesus used it, just as the bronze serpent was lifted up, so the Son of Man will be lifted up. It also appears in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, in talking about how the Lord was displeased with the people. Maybe used other places as well that I can't think of off the top of my head. But let's look at the passage in the few moments we have together. It is an amazing thing. Our soul loathes this worthless bread. They are speaking about the manna. That's what they're talking about. And so for them to say, oh, we have no food, that's a lie. They do have food. They just don't like what they're eating. They don't like the food that's being provided for them. They have food. But here they are, and they're complaining, and they're murmuring once again. Why? How do you get to this point? Why would you despise the manna? Why would you do that? A few reasons, none of them good, by the way. One is, it was a very simple food. And sometimes folks are not, and I hope we make the application for the bread of life. Give us this day our daily bread. And think about more spiritual applications. But the manna was a very simple food, and sometimes people are not content with simplicity, and they want something more complex, and they just despise the simple. And it's a mistake. It's a mistake. The Lord knows what's best for us, so don't despise the simplicity of what God provides. Don't despise the simplicity of God's Word. Secondly, they've been eating the manna for a while. And it kind of reminds me, you remember the philosophers in Athens, and they sat around, they just wanted to hear something new. Make that application to this. They've been eating the manna for a while. It's become old hat. And sometimes, you have the passage in the Old Testament where it talks about the old paths, the ancient paths. Sometimes people don't want to go down the old paths. They don't want to go down the ancient paths. They don't want the old. They want to hear something new. They want something new. Our soul despises this worthless bread. We loathe it. Why? Because it's simple, because it's old. We've gotten used to it. Don't despise the old. But also, it was the manna. They would just come out every morning, except for the Sabbath, and it was there. All you had to do is pick it up. It's easy. Sometimes people don't like the easy because you don't have to work for it. They had to go around and gather it up, but that was it. Sometimes people don't want easy. It's like Naaman. It's like, the servant of Naaman says, if he would have told you to do something hard, you would have done it. Why not do the easy thing and be cleansed? To Naaman's credit, he does. Here, they're murmuring, oh, we despise this wordless bread. Why? How could you despise it? It's we've been eating the same thing for a while, and we want something new. And, it's just there. And when it's just there, you just take it for granted until the serpents start killing people. Then all of a sudden you realize, oh, maybe we should not have taken it for granted. And the Lord has to teach them a lesson. And so that's the account. It was a test. The manna from the very beginning was a test. It was a test back then, and it's still a test here in this account. And once again, they're failing the test, and we can do the same thing. We can despise the simplicity of what God provides. We can despise, oh, it's old. We want something contemporary. And we want it more razzle dazzle, and we want it more difficult. Sometimes sometimes we can just be like that. It's a mistake, and the Lord teaches us the lesson, and we better learn this. We better learn the lesson and apply it to ourselves. Appreciate you. Hope you're doing well. Hope you join us for our next brief look into God's Word.